today I am in the City of London. I'm in the high-flying financial district. I'm on Gracechurch Street. And the reason why I'm here is to go to the Crosse Keys, which is actually one of the largest Wetherspoon pubs in the whole of the UK. This place is absolutely massive because it used to be the headquarters of Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation back in 1913, so over 100 years ago. And the Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation is now better known as HSBC. It's obviously acquired a few things and grown a bit since then, but it exited this building a long period of time ago. And Wetherspoons decided that it was going to bring it back to its former glory. This place is really big, but it's also really ornate. And because it's in the city, because we're in this high-flying district where people are making millions of pounds every day working in all these skyscrapers, it gets very, very busy. But I've come at lunchtime to check out what the fish and chips is like, because that's the best seller in this place. So let's go inside and see what the Crosse Keys is about. Oh, before I forget, what's the name Crosse Keys mean? Well, it actually dates back to an inn here that was before the Great Fire of London. So back in the 1600s, 1550 I think it was started, there was an inn called the Crosse Keys. That burnt down during the Great Fire of London in 1666 and was never rebuilt, and then they built this on top of it. But Wetherspoons, because they always like to go back into the history of a building and bring it back to life, they called it the Crosse Keys in commemoration of the original inn that was here around 500 years ago. So let's go in and check out what this place is like. So here I am at my table, and as I mentioned outside, I was intending to come in and order the fish and chips, but unfortunately the fish and chips isn't available. Now, I'm actually using the app now because I've been here a few times, but they still have the traditional menu, and the menu is absolutely huge. So I had a look at what else I could have that's a traditional British dish. So they have the pub classics on here. So unfortunately, the two fish options were not available. All day brunch, well, I've had a breakfast relatively recently at Wetherspoons, so I won't have one of those again. So I've decided to go for sausages, chips and beans, which is a very English dish. That's the sort of thing that you would have for your tea when you came home from work. People have been eating that for hundreds of years, and the price of it is really quite incredible. So I've got it including a drink for less than £10, which in the centre of London, that is amazing. That's such a great deal. But let's see what the food's like. I've just ordered it. Let's see how long it takes. I found that using this app is really fast, that when you place an order, things tend to come super quick. So let's see how long it takes. Right, well, I've only just had a chance to set my stopwatch going, and my pint of Guinness that was included in the price when you come to Wetherspoons. The deals here are that you basically can get a drink as well as the food for a very good deal. So I've managed to order sausages, chips and beans plus a pint of Guinness for £9.49. Now, if I was to go to one of the other pubs around here, because this is probably the most expensive part of London to go to a pub, if I was to buy this in the pub next door, I would bet it would cost me around £8 because it's super expensive here. Generally in the UK you might pay £5 or £6. If you're going to your local pub around here, this would be about £8. So that means that the sausage, beans and chips that I've ordered, if I'm taking £8 for this off the price, it's only cost me about £1.50, which is incredible. So cheers to that, Wetherspoons. Well, actually, whilst I'm on the topic of Wetherspoons, I thought it was worth mentioning that the reason why it's called Wetherspoons, because the guy who set it up is actually called Tim Martin, or Sir Tim Martin now. He's been knighted for all of the good work that he's done for the UK. But the reason why he called it Wetherspoons is because when he was at school, one of his teachers, who was called Mr. Wetherspoon, told him that he was useless and he would amount to nothing. So when he opened his first pub, he decided to name it after that teacher in his honour in a sort of ironic fashion. So now there are over 850 Wetherspoons pubs, and you can just imagine how annoyed that teacher must have been as he saw all of these pubs opening. Oh, thank you very much. Wow, that's really quick service. That's less than 3 minutes after I ordered the food. It's now arrived. That's incredible. So I can stop my stopwatch now. It hasn't even got to 3 minutes. That was about 2.5 minutes after ordering. I've got a pint of Guinness and the food. Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, Mr. Wetherspoon must have been very annoyed with Tim Martin for naming them after him, but it's quite an amusing thing. Nice little story. Okay, here's my sausage, beans and chips. Now, as you know, as I mentioned in previous video, Wetherspoons has these interesting plates. A lot of people really like these plates, so I wasn't very happy with mine in the previous video, and a lot of people said, well, I really love the plate, so each to his own. This one is a sort of peach and white interesting pattern, bit less gaudy than the blue one that I had at Montague Pike, but I've got 3 sausages, a good amount of chips and some beans in a pot here. So let's try these sausages. So firstly, they've been cooked well, they're looking good, they presumably have been fried, but they don't look particularly greasy. Nice and meaty, so you can see there, got a really good meat content, looks very tasty. Let's have some. That's a very, very tasty sausage, particularly given the price that I paid for this. You would have expected the quality to be quite low, but that was really tasty. And I think I mentioned before, one of the principles of Wetherspoons, how they managed to get the price down so much across the whole of the country, is that everything is sourced centrally. So this pub doesn't buy its own ingredients. They're all bought by Wetherspoons as head office. So they're placing orders for presumably millions of these sausages. And when you're placing orders of that nature, obviously you can get a really good deal. It's the same with the beer. Wetherspoons is the biggest seller of beer in the UK. Cheers. And so it's able to offer really good prices because it's buying volumes that nobody else is managing to do. So that's how it gets the price down. But that sausage is good. Let's taste one of these chips. So it looks good, looks nice and crispy. Hot, very hot. That's a good chip. You can see, maybe you can see there, it's got a really nice crispy outer layer and it's nice and white and fluffy on the inside. Perfect. Those chips are really good, which is great because last time I had chips at Wetherspoons, I was a bit disappointed. The Montague Pike in central London over by Leicester Square, their chips weren't very nice, but these ones are good. I'll definitely eat these ones. Right, okay. Let's taste the beans. Now, I like the fact that the beans come in a pot because it contains the juice. It stops it merging in with everything else, because I don't always like bean juice on my sausages and chips, so it's good that it's all contained in that pot. So let's see what these beans taste like. Well, they're really hot for starters, so in terms of this food, it's piping hot. All 3 of these ingredients are really hot. They've just been cooked. Really good. Excellent. The beans themselves, a bit watery, a little bit thin, and not very tasty. So if you're used to Heinz beans, which I think I am, I've been indoctrinated over the years, you know, basically everybody in the UK bought Heinz beans forever. So you get used to that flavour, you sort of associate it with baked beans. It doesn't taste the same as that. It's not as sweet, the sauce isn't as thick, not quite as nice, but they're okay. I'm probably not going to eat the beans, to be honest. I really just wanted the sausage and chips. So let's have a bit more sausage. Maybe I'll try it with the beans, see if that goes well together. So that's a classic mixture from an English breakfast. To be fair, the beans do go better with the sausage, so it's quite a nice combination. Gives it a bit more moisture, and the taste of the sausage comes through predominantly, so you don't really need any real flavour in the beans, so just adding a little bit of moisture and a bit of texture. So yeah, overall, impressed with the speed of the service. The plate looks okay today, the food's nice and hot, the sausages are decent, the chips are well cooked, the beans are okay, the Guinness was well presented very quickly, so overall it's a good start. Now let me finish this and I will see you outside for the wrap up. Okay, I've now finished my lunch at the Crosse Keys, so I've decided to come to a little quiet part of the city because it's absolutely mental here at the moment. There's so many people and so much traffic that I've come to a relatively quiet spot to give you the wrap up as to what I've done. So I started off today with the intention of having fish and chips. That was what I was wanting to do, to have the traditional British lunch and see what Wetherspoons was like in one of its busiest pubs. But unfortunately, as you saw, they didn't have any fish today. So when I went onto the app, the fish options were just not available. So they obviously had a problem with the delivery of the fish. So I had to pivot and come up with a new idea. So I decided to go for a traditional British meal, which was sausage, chips and beans. That is pretty basic. That's what you might have got for your tea when you were sort of 6 or 7. You'd say, what for tea, mum? They'd say sausage and chips. You'd think, not again, sausage and chips again. Relatively cheap fare. But I wanted to see what it was like at Wetherspoons because it's on the pub classics there. So I placed my order within 1 minute of placing my order. So I didn't have to go to the bar. I did it all through the app. You just put in the table number that you're at. Within 1 minute, they brought me the pint of Guinness, which was incredibly fast, especially because it was so busy in there. And then 2 minutes later, I got the food. So within 3 minutes, I had everything that I'd ordered. So that is impressive service for a very busy pub. So I have to give full marks for the speed of service. The plate itself was actually quite decorative today. I liked it better than the blue plate that I got at Montague Pike. So I like the plate, thumbs up for that one. And then in terms of the food itself, I got 3 sausages. So I think 3 is generous, that's higher than average. Normally, if you have sausage, beans and chips, you'd be getting 2 sausages. So 3 sausages, I think, is right at the top end of the spectrum. Sorry, it's a bit noisy here. There's lots of people walking past and it's quite enclosed. So quite tall sides to this area that I'm in here. So 3 sausages, I think, is good. There's a good amount of chips, more than I wanted to eat. And then the beans came in a little pot, which I think was good because it stops the bean juice from going all over the plate and then making everything taste like beans. Whoa, I don't know what's happened there, but it's quite noisy. Sorry about that. So it stops the beans from spreading everywhere. So I think in terms of the quantity of food, it was good. What about the quality? Well, the sausages were decent. They were okay. Not the best sausages I've ever had, but they were okay. They were pretty good. So they were edible, they were well cooked, quite nice. So yeah, all in all, yeah, I'd give them a thumbs up for the sausages. The chips, they were really well cooked, they were hot, they were fluffy on the inside and crispy on the outside, which is what you want from a chip. And the beans, yeah, they weren't Heinz beans, they weren't my favourite, they're a bit thin, the juice, a little bit tasteless, but the beans are really more of a afterthought on sausage, beans and chips for me. If you're wanting real sauce and real taste, you'd have some ketchup on there or some brown sauce or mustard or whatever it might be. So overall, I thought that it was a good meal. It was well presented. It was delivered very quickly, well cooked, reasonably tasty, quite good. So what's my score for this? Oh, actually, I wanted to just share with you the fact that in the city here, it's so expensive. So if I'd have had that meal anywhere else, it would have cost me at least double, maybe even more than that, than it did at Wetherspoons. So I've got to take that into account. So actually, just touching on the bill before we go on to the final score, because I think the cost is important. I got for that meal plus a drink, because Wetherspoons has this concept where you get a drink sort of included in the price. It's a little bit more expensive than just ordering the food, but not much. It came in at £9.49. I double checked it afterwards. It was £9.49. And as I said earlier, the pint of Guinness would cost you £7 or £8 around here easily. And there's actually places around here where you'll pay £10 for a pint of Guinness, which I wouldn't, but some people would. Some people who don't care would do that. So in terms of how much did the food cost? Well, when you take that into account, the food is basically free. It's coming, you're paying a couple of pounds maybe for the food. So in that context, I think it scores quite well. So what's my score for the Crosse Keys? Well, internally, it's massive. It's a really big pub. It's got a nice atmosphere in there. It was really busy, really quite lively. The ceiling, it's a shame that they've netted the ceiling off. You can't see the ornate ceiling. Maybe it's going through some renovation work, I don't know. But it was quite a nice atmosphere. The food service was incredibly good, really quick, got everything super quick. The food itself was decent. I'd classify it as decent. I wouldn't say it was the best sausages I've ever had. The chips were okay. They were what I wanted from a chip. So in terms of my score, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which is a pretty good score. But as you know, if it's less than 7.5, I probably wouldn't go back. And I don't think I would rush back to the Crosse Keys because there's better options, because this is one of the most expensive Wetherspoons in the country. I thought the food was okay. I've been to better Wetherspoons. I think I'll probably have better sausage, beans and chips elsewhere in the future, but it was decent, it was okay. So overall, I think a 7 is a solid score for what I ate. So thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end. Thank you for watching any of my videos. If you've watched more than one, I really appreciate it. Please give me a thumbs up and like this video, because it helps with the algorithm. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, because that also helps. Just helps me as well, puts a smile on my face. And I will see you again next. And I've got a quick question for you, actually, whether or not you would like me to do more Wetherspoons reviews. Do you want me to just do generic food reviews, going to different places, all different types of things? Or do you want me to increase the number of Wetherspoon reviews? Because there's 850 of them in the country. I could cover certainly all the London ones very easily, and probably a lot more than that. So it's definitely within my reach to do it. Just let me know if you'd like me to do that, and I will start doing them from as soon as I can. So thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end, and I'll see you again on the next.